So I'm Iggy Harrison. I'm with Live Streaming Media. We have been live streaming for 5 years. During quarantine was when we started really hitting Zoom, and we've done some teams. Like I was just doing the main Teams room. So right now I've got a computer up with Zoom. Is that facing the right direction? Because on my little window, it shows it as being reversed. Are y'all able to see that?
Iggy, it doesn't show you're sharing your screen, but we can see it.
It'd be my video. It's my camera feed.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, we do see it. It's just that it's really small because it's just in your box.
Ah, I see. Let's see if I can find another way to bring that in.
While Iggy is bringing that up, everyone, I just want to thank you all for joining us today and joining us at our Conversations with Staff event. We definitely hope that you all... I just realized my camera wasn't on after learning all about online presence. We definitely hope that you all learned a lot at today's event with Natalie. And as I mentioned, we do have a virtual toolkit, kind of like a virtual takeaway for you all to have. And we just ask that you fill out the feedback form for today's event. If you did not RSVP to today's event, and so we want to make sure that you do get the survey, the feedback survey, I'm going to put my email address into the chat. Feel free to email me, and I will make sure that you get the survey so that you can get fill it out and provide us with information and feedback about our event, but also any type of other events that you would like for Staff Council to host, especially since we are doing everything virtually right now. Please do provide us with any feedback or suggestions as far as future events. I know is one of the questions in the survey. So thank you again for joining us. And Iggy, are you ready? We can see you, Iggy, but I can't hear you. I think you're still on mute, but I think you're probably trying to share.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. I'll just share my desktop.
This works out. Looks like we have a few more people joining us. Those of you just joining us, thank you for joining. Iggy, we have Iggy. He'll be getting started in just a moment.
What is the
Yeah, I'm just going to do it here. So, something that I recommend with Zoom is to make sure you're on the latest update. You can do that either by going to Zoom's website and downloading it, or you can log in and do it from there. I'm actually teaching. I'm on a Mac, but it's real similar on Windows. Okay, I'm just going to check for updates. It'll give you a list of all the what they've changed. Normally, you'll find articles if there's anything major. They don't really tell us ahead of time when there's going to be an update. They just release it. Like share multiple programs at once. That's pretty cool. Updates rarely take long. They're really fast. All right, so when you're on the home screen, this is going to be for joining meetings, creating new ones, or scheduling new ones. If you've already created them, then you need to remember to go to meetings, and it'll show you a calendar of all the events that you've created. Do y'all primarily, do most of y'all create events, or are y'all more joining Zoom events that are already there? You can unmute and talk, or say it in the chat. Yeah, joining and lots of people doing all of the above. Okay. So joining is pretty simple. You can join normally from your calendar, or you'll receive a link. If you can be invited as a panelist if it's a webinar, and the link that you receive as a panelist is specific to you. You're not supposed to share it out with anyone, because anyone you share it with will log in as you into the meeting. That happened the other day where we had 8 people under the same name. For creating the events, I don't like to use the desktop application. I prefer to go to the website. And just schedule a meeting. If you create a lot of meetings and you're realizing that they're all really the same as far as security goes, as well as settings, you can save them as a template, and that makes it easier to create new ones. And this is kind of my default. I don't normally require registration because most of my things are not broad. We don't have our Zoom license is not meant for a broad audience. Ours is for a specific group. So we'll have just the presenters join and their support staff, and everybody else will watch in a different manner that we rebroadcast for a larger audience. Passcodes are recommended. They'll really help you prevent people from Zoom bombing, as well as the waiting room. That way you can kind of screen people as they come in, or if you have a meeting where you want to talk with the speaker before starting the actual event, then you can make everybody else sit in the waiting room while you and the speaker converse about what's going to happen. I always leave mute participants upon entry. You really don't want someone coming in during the meeting with a hot mic. Also, disabling the allow participants to join anytime will also help prevent any Zoom bombing. When someone joins as a participant, there's a button that allows them to claim host. And if you have more people joining and you're running late, or if they all just join really early, you could have some pretty, that opens it up to being Zoom bombed. Once you are in, there is a button that allows you to reclaim host, and you're able to kick out anyone that was being unruly. You can do a breakout room pre-assignment. That really only works when you're doing registration. As you see, there's some limitations on the room, but it's pretty open. You can also create these rooms after you've started the meeting. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. Create the breakout rooms as well as assign the people. You can do it manually. You can force them all into rooms. You can allow them to come back into the main Zoom room. Request permission to unmute is somewhat new. Zoom used to have it about a year ago, and then they took it away as quarantine was going on. And then they started reinstituting it more recently. When this is checked and people are joining the Zoom meeting, they'll be prompted to give permission for you to unmute them. And alternative hosts will only work with those who are under your same contract licensing. For instance, I've had an account with College of Technology, but it's a separate contract from the streaming media one, and I was not able to set them up as an alternative host to their separate meetings, so we had to get a whole new account. I'll just save this one as a new event, and we'll go into it, and I'll show you everything in there. The passcode is serialized inside this password link. So as you share this out, people that are joining should not need to enter the passcode unless they're dialing in. That doesn't translate well. While I'm in here, I'll show you polls. They're really simple polls and pretty self-explanatory. If you're interested in live streaming your meeting, or if you do have webinar, this is great because you may have a license that restricts you to 100 people, and let's say you want to host an event and your RSVPs will go well over 100. You can set things up so that the meeting goes to Facebook or YouTube, or you can do a custom live streaming service. That's the one that we prefer to do. This has to be enabled under your account. Once it is, this is probably where you're going to contact one of us, streaming@uh.edu, and we can help you set this up. It's a one-time setup per meeting, but if you make that meeting recurring, then it'll continue to work every time. All right, so once you're in here, you can turn off the waiting room since we're already in here as a host. You can lock the meeting to prevent anyone else from coming in. Share screen is something I always forget to turn on, even when I have presenters. If you're going to have a lot of people, like I talked about how there's the 100-person restriction. If you're going to have 100 people on and only a couple of people are going to be presenting, I don't recommend turning on participants to share screen. Instead, what you want to do is under the participants area, you'll see them join in, and let me share this and y'all can join and see my side of things as you join Zoom so you can see the effects of it. And so you can see the waiting room is here. It'll tell you up at the top as well as over here. And there's a red icon down there. And you can admit one at a time. As more people join, there'll be an add all or admit all button up there. So there we go. We'll admit all. So we've got a decent group going here. Let's say we had one presenter. Instead of enabling presentation for everybody, I'm just going to make you a co-host. There's a confirmation there. You'll get notified that you've been made a co-host, and now you have the ability to share your screen, as well as admit people as they're coming in. We always like to have at least one student worker or contractor join, and we'll make them a co-host. That way I can focus on some other aspects of the meeting or the broadcast, and they're able to allow in the right people. We can also disable starting their video, allowing them to mute themselves, allowing participants to rename themselves. There's some more options under here in which I can ask everyone to unmute. Lock meeting is also over here. I turn off play sound when someone joins and leaves. It's nice. I've seen it used well with really large meetings when it is expected that everybody be there at the beginning and everybody stay until the end. But those were like someone really high up in the chain is like everybody must be there, and they'll turn this on. Down here, just reactions, things that you can advise. Like if I'm probably talking fast, so someone would say go slower, and the icon will show up at the top next to whoever pushed the button. You can also raise your hand, and every time whoever hits raise hand first, they'll get bumps near the top. The order of participants is always your account, the host, the co-host, and then raised hands. Just let's see, do you have a certain type of Zoom account to have more than one co-host? Yes, we can add, I'll add Whitney as a co-host. So now Whitney also has the ability to admit people and help manage the meeting itself. One of the things that we'll do to help keep the focus on the speakers, particularly when we have a large group of people for a meeting, is the spotlight feature. So now it changes everybody's view to speaker view and just has my camera up. If there was another camera, then I would be able to add the spotlight, and we'll have two videos shown. I've done up to 9 in a production. Getting once you get past 6, they become kind of too small of boxes, video boxes, for it to be kind of reasonable for the live streaming broadcasts that we do. But for a team meeting, I think Zoom will go up to 46. And once someone has been spotlight, you can change your view back by going up to the view button, and you can change it to gallery view and see everybody again. Once another person has been spotlit or added to the spotlight, then it goes back to speaker view. We can also demote people. We can withdraw the co-host. When it comes to closed captioning, Zoom doesn't have it built in. But if you have someone that's a decent typer, or if they're actually certified, or if you hire, we've got some third-party companies that we've worked with to do closed captioning, you can assign them as a closed captionist. If you report them, it's reported to Zoom and they'll look into their account. So we only do that to the people that are unruly. And really, we've never had anybody be unruly in Zoom, or even the town halls that we did. Nobody's ever been upsetting or offensive. So one of the problems that I've had with Zoom, as far as hosting multiple events at the same time, is that when you have the license, it's only good for one account. So if you've got two meetings that have to occur either at the same time, or there's the potential for overlap, I recommend creating one event under one of those accounts and the other event under the other account. And you can still do alternate hosts between them, but you don't want one of those accounts to start both of those meetings, because when it goes to start the second one, it's going to say you're already using the license for another meeting, and it's going to try to close down that other one. Here's where the breakout rooms are. Default, it wants 2, but you can increase that, and it'll tell you at the bottom how many you can have per room. We'll do 2. So it can be assigned manually, or we can let you choose. Now there's the 2 rooms. You can rename them. I typically, because we do live streams, I normally call one of them green room. And right now it's just assigning them. I can still add more rooms. I can still rename them. I can recreate them and change all of these options. One of my favorites is the auto close breakout room. No, wait, not auto close. This one, the countdown. That's my favorite. I tend to go with between 10 and 30. Kind of depends on how many people are going to be in there. Haley asked, so how do I get a license? You can get it through UIT. I think software at uh.edu. Or KrugerByte also has them. But if you go through UIT, it's a little bit cheaper, is what I hear. And so I can open the rooms. And if you've been assigned it, I think you get notified that you can move to it. It's going to completely collapse the Zoom application, and then it pulls it back up as if you were going to a completely different meeting, because essentially it is, without needing another person in it. You can, as the host, you can broadcast a message to all. We can still assign people to it. We can move people between the rooms. I did leave it on, so if they wanted to come back to the main room, they can choose to. The number up here just indicates how many are unassigned. If you notice, we can't make any changes to the rooms. You can't rename it. You can't create new ones. You can't remove them. So any settings that you did before opening the rooms have to stay in place until you either close all the rooms or you end the meeting. Close all the rooms. Everybody gets notified that the rooms are going to be closing, and you can either choose to come back, or if you wait until the end of the timer, it'll automatically bring you back into this room. And this is a good point about the mute all participants when they join. So as you're coming back from the room, you're going to be muted. I know I've been in a breakout room that was set for like 5 minutes to auto close, and I was in mid conversation and got brought into the main room, and then everybody heard the rest of the conversation, and they were confused. All the rooms are closed, and we can make our changes again.
Iggy,
Yes.
I don't know if you can hear the echo.
No, I wouldn't. Maybe it's that. Okay.
Okay, I think that's better. Sorry about that, y'all. But we have about 5 minutes left. So I did see we got a few questions answered. One question that came from Gio was, while you're in the Zoom platform, any advice on using virtual backgrounds on a Mac? We're only able to do it using a green screen, and I will say I have that same problem too. And I'm told it's because I have an older Mac.
I haven't heard about that on the Macs, but I have encountered it with some of the older Dells. So Zoom came up with an update somewhere around the last Board of Regents meeting because it was an issue there, in which older video cards were not going to be supported anymore, and that's why it needs to have that green screen. I'm normally running on, I think it's a 2018 or 2015 rather. Look at this.
And Gio says that his is actually a new Mac, and it's still an issue for him.
Oh, I'm not. Is that one of the USB-C ones?
Gio, you're welcome to unmute.
It's just a personal MacBook Air. I got it earlier this year, 2020.
Huh. It might be that the Air doesn't have a good enough video card for it after Zoom made their update. Generally for broadcasts, we don't recommend backgrounds, but for meetings, yeah, it makes sense to always do the virtual background.
Another question that came in, Iggy, was, do you have to have a certain type of Zoom account to have more than one co-host? They said that they ran into an issue of the owner of the meeting could only assign one person to run the meeting, not both.
No, if you're trying to add them as a co-host, that's no problem, but there can only be one host. So maybe that's where the issue was.
Okay. It says you mentioned clicking the live streaming button and that IT could set it up. Is there a cost?
If we're just going to set it up for you and you're going to run the stream, no, I don't see there being a reason for there to be a cost at all. If you're wanting lower thirds to be in there, or for the stream itself to be a little bit better managed, or chat moderation on the other end, whether it be Facebook or YouTube, or embedded on a web page, then yeah, there would not be a cost for setting it up or consulting for that. But when we actually do the event, there's a cost to that. We have a cost center, so it's all internal.
Wonderful. And then we'll end it out with one last question. Do we need to have an upgraded Zoom license in order to access the live stream feature?
No, I would have thought that you would need to, but so if you're buying the account under UIT or Cougar Byte, I think it's all enabled for all of the accounts, no matter what level you have.
It says if a license is purchased from UH, is the meeting to be only a business meeting, not personal?
I ended up buying one of my own for personal, and we also do a happy hour through it. But I don't think anybody is is doing checks right now on that sort of thing. I think if you're I wouldn't do anything under a UH Zoom license that you wouldn't do on campus. I'll put it that way.
I think that's a great way to say it. That's a great question. I will say for myself as well, I did purchase a personal one also, and they generally do give you some sort of education discount if you do a personal one. I feel like there's some promo code that you can find to get that a little bit cheaper. And it looks like Gio also answered that question as well, Tammy. All right, everyone. It is 1:30. We definitely appreciate all of you all for joining us today, and a very big thank you to Iggy for sharing your time and your information, Iggy, with us in regards to Zoom. I have dropped my email address into the chat. Again, if you all have any questions, feel free to email me about our event. And then also, if you did not RSVP, but of course want to get that virtual toolkit, we want to make sure that you get the feedback form so that you have the opportunity to get that. So my email address is there as well. And with that, you all have a great rest of the day, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.